The bond formed by transferring electrons from one atom to another is called A. Ionic bond, B. Covalent bond, C. Metallic bond, D. None of these. The correct answer is ionic bond. Which of the following property is desirable in parts subjected to shock and impact loads? A. Strength, B. Stiffness, C. Brittleness, D. Toughness. The correct answer is toughness. German silver contains A. 1 silver, B. 2 silver, C. 5 silver, D. no silver. The correct answer is no silver. Connecting rod is usually made from A. low carbon steel, B. high carbon steel, C. medium carbon steel, D. high speed steel. The correct answer is medium carbon steel. Which of the following impurity in cast iron makes it hard and brittle? A. Silicon, B. sulphur, C. manganese, D. phosphorus. The correct answer is sulphur. There are 14 atoms in a unit cell of A. body-centered cubic space lattice, B. face-centered cubic space lattice, C. close-packed hexagonal space lattice, D. none of these. The correct answer is face-centered cubic space lattice. The maximum internal diameter of a blast furnace is about A. 3 m, B. 6 m, C. 9 m, D. 12 m. The correct answer is 9 m. In spheroidising process, the steel is A. heated below the lower critical temperature and then cooled slowly, B. heated up to the lower critical temperature and then cooled in still air, C. heated slightly above the lower critical temperature and then cooled slowly to a temperature of 600 C, D. none of the above. The correct answer is heated slightly above the lower critical temperature and then cooled slowly to a temperature of 600 C. Pearlite is a combination of 87 ferrite and 13 cementite. A. yes, B. no, C. D. The correct answer is yes. The percentage carbon content in wrought iron is about A. 0.02, B. 0.1, C. 0.2, D. 0.4. The correct answer is 0.02. The alloying element which reduces the formation of iron sulphide in steel is A. chromium, B. nickel, C. vanadium, D. manganese. The correct answer is manganese. For a steel containing 0.8 carbon, A. there is no critical point, B. there is only one critical point, C. there are two critical points, D. there can be any number of critical points. The correct answer is there is only one critical point. In high-speed steels, manganese is used to toughen the metal and to increase its A. yield point, B. critical temperature, C. melting point, D. hardness. The correct answer is critical temperature. The machinability of aluminium increases when is added to aluminium. A. copper, B. magnesium, C. silicon, D. lead and bismuth. The correct answer is lead and bismuth. Body-centered cubic space lattice is found in A. zinc, magnesium, cobalt, cadmium, antimony and bismuth, B. gamma, iron, aluminium, copper, lead, silver and nickel, C. alpha, iron, tungsten, chromium and molybdenum, D. none of the above. The correct answer is alpha, iron, tungsten, chromium and molybdenum. When a low-carbon steel is heated up to lower critical temperature, A. there is no change in grain size, B. the average grain size is a minimum, C. the grain size increases very rapidly, D. the grain size first increases and then decreases very rapidly. The correct answer is There is no change in grain size. Gray cast iron is then white cast iron. A. Softer. B. Harder. C. D. The correct answer is softer. Corrosion resistance of steel is increased by adding nickel and chromium. A. Agree. B. Disagree. C. D. The correct answer is agree. The silicon steel is widely used for A. Connecting rods. B. Cutting tools. C. Generators and transformers in the form of laminated cores. D. Motor car crankshafts. The correct answer is generators and transformers in the form of laminated cores. Ball bearings are usually made from A. Low carbon steel. B. High carbon steel. C. Medium carbon steel. D. Chrome steel. The correct answer is chrome steel. Macrostructure of a material is generally examined by A. Naked eye. B. Optical microscope. C. Metallurgical microscope. D. X-ray techniques. The correct answer is naked eye. Aluminium has low density and addition of silicon improves its fluidity and therefore its castability. A. Correct. B. Incorrect. C. D. The correct answer is correct. Which of the following property is desirable for materials used in tools and machines? A. Elasticity. B. Plasticity. C. Ductility. D. Malleability. The correct answer is elasticity. Babbitt metal is A. Lead base alloy. B. Copper base alloy. C. Tin base alloy. D. Cadmium base alloy. The correct answer is tin base alloy. The metal suitable for bearings subjected to heavy loads is A. Silicon bronze. B. White metal. C. Monel metal. D. Phosphor bronze. The correct answer is white metal. The compressive strength of cast iron is that of its tensile strength. A. Equal to. B. Less than. C. More than. D. The correct answer is more than. When a steel containing less than 0.8 carbon is cooled slowly from temperatures above or within the critical range, it consists of A. Mainly ferrite. B. Mainly pearlite. C. Ferrite and pearlite. D. Pearlite and cementite. The correct answer is ferrite and pearlite. Eutectoid reaction occurs at A. 600 C. B. 723 C. C. 1147 C. D. 1493 C. The correct answer is 723 C. The addition of copper to aluminium possesses maximum strength after heat treatment and age hardening. A. Correct. B. Incorrect. C. D. The correct answer is correct. Nickel when added to copper improves A. Machinability. B. Hardness. C. Hardness and strength. D. Strength and ductility. The correct answer is hardness. In the lower part of the blast furnace zone of fusion, the temperature is A. 400 to 700 C. B. 800 C to 1000 C. C. 1200 C to 1300 C. D. 1500 C to 1700 C. The correct answer is 1200 C to 1300 C. Which of the following impurity in cast iron promotes graphite nodule formation and increases the fluidity of the molten metal? A. Silicon. B. Sulphur. C. Manganese. D. Phosphorus. The correct answer is silicon. Which of the following statement is wrong? A. A steel with 0.8 carbon is wholly pearlite. B. The amount of cementite increases with the increase in percentage of carbon in iron. C. A mechanical mixture of 87 cementite and 13 ferrite is called pearlite. D. The cementite is identified as round particles in the structure. The correct answer is a mechanical mixture of 87 cementite and 13 ferrite is called pearlite. Inconel contains A. 65 nickel, 15 chromium and 20 iron. B. 68 nickel, 29 copper and 3 other constituents. C. 80 nickel and 20 chromium. D. 80 nickel, 14 chromium and 6 iron. The correct answer is 80 nickel, 14 chromium and 6 iron. In a hardening process, the hypo-eutectoid steel is A. Heated from 30 C to 50 C above the upper critical temperature and then cooled in still air. B. Heated from 30 C to 50 C above the upper critical temperature and then cooled suddenly in a suitable cooling medium. C. Heated from 30 C to 50 C above the upper critical temperature and then cooled slowly in the furnace. D. Heated below or close to the lower critical temperature and then cooled slowly. The correct answer is heated from 30 C to 50 C above the upper critical temperature and then cooled suddenly in a suitable cooling medium. The ratio of the volume occupied by the atoms to the total volume of the unit cell is called A. Coordination number. B. Atomic packing factor. C. Space lattice. D. None of these. The correct answer is atomic packing factor. Which of the following statement is incorrect about duralumin? A. It is prone to age hardening. B. It can be forged. C. It has good machining properties. D. It is lighter than pure aluminium. The correct answer is it is lighter than pure aluminium. The property of a material which enables it to retain the deformation permanently is called A. Brittleness. B. Ductility. C. Malleability. D. Plasticity. The correct answer is plasticity. Sulphur in cast iron. A. Makes the iron soft and easily machinable. B. Increases hardness and brittleness. C. Makes the iron white and hard. D. Aids fusibility and fluidity. The correct answer is increases hardness and brittleness. Cementite consists of A. 13 carbon and 87 ferrite. B. 13 cementite and 87 ferrite. C. 13 ferrite and 87 cementite. D. 6.67 carbon and 93.33 iron. The correct answer is 6.67 carbon and 93.33 iron. Cast iron is a ductile material. A. Correct. B. Incorrect. C. D. The correct answer is incorrect. Manganese is added in low-carbon steel to A. Make the steel tougher and harder. B. Raise the yield point. C. Make the steel ductile and of good bending qualities. D. All of the above. The correct answer is make the steel ductile and of good bending qualities. Beryllium bronze contains A. 60 copper and 40 beryllium. B. 80 copper and 20 beryllium. C. 97.75 copper and 2.25 beryllium. D. 99 copper and 1 beryllium. The correct answer is 97.75 copper and 2.25 beryllium. The portion of the blast furnace below its widest cross-section is called A. Hearth. B. Stack. C. Bosch. D. Throat. The correct answer is Bosch. Gamma iron occurs between the temperature range of A. 400 C to 600 C. B. 600 C to 900 C. C. 900 C to 1400 C. D 1400 C to 1530 C. The correct answer is 900 C to 1400 C. According to Indian standard specifications, a plain carbon steel designated by 40 C8 means that the carbon content is A 0.04, B 0.35 to 0.45, C 0.4 to 0.6, D 0.6 to 0.8. The correct answer is 0.35 to 0.45. Wrought iron. A is a ductile material. B can be easily forged or welded. C cannot stand sudden and excessive shocks. D all of these. The correct answer is all of these. In iron, the presence of carbon in free form is called graphite. A agree. B disagree. C. D. The correct answer is agree. In a body-centered cubic space lattice there are 9 atoms, out of which 8 atoms are located at the corners of the cube and 1 atom at its center. A yes. B no. C. D. The correct answer is yes.